Welcome to Yo-11 Minutes. Yo-11 Minutes, mostly Vegas, no BS, casino experience, and more. Michael Traeger is a casino and travel loyalty expert who also helps people turn their travel dreams into reality. And now, Michael Traeger. How's it going, Michael?
It's going great. How are you doing? How was your weekend?
I am doing good. The weekend was good. Can't really complain. All is well here in Las Vegas.
That's cool. Well, I hear you have some news that involves the number 118.
Yes, there is news involving the 118, so let's get to it. It is time for the news and the views. The oldest hotel in downtown Las Vegas is celebrating another year in Sin City. The Golden Gate Hotel and Casino marked its 118th birthday on Saturday. The property received a big congratulations from Circa Las Vegas and the D Casino, which are all owned by Derek Stevens. The fan-favorite casino witnessed the birth of Las Vegas after its opening in 1906 and continues to leave its mark in the valley. According to the Golden Gate, the hotel was there for a number of monumental events, from the legalization of gambling to the first paving of Fremont Street to Las Vegas's first telephone. Guests can still take a look through history and access some historical artifacts in the lobby of the Golden Gate. That's it for the news, and now for the views. Michael, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that I'm thinking about the first paving of Fremont Street. So is Fremont Street not paved?
Originally, it was not, because it was just a bunch of dirt. You know, it was a western town, just dirt roads, and yeah.
That's pretty cool. Actually, in 1906 is like prior to really automobiles being pretty popular too.
I would assume horses and wagons and all that good country westerns. I mean, that's why, you see like Boulder Station, and you had all these like country sounding casinos at first. They used to be called sawdust joints, right? Because there was always like sawdust on the ground and stuff for people who were violently, I don't know, just had
no telephones, no cars,
yep,
no pave. No,
yep.
Well, you don't need paved roads if you only have horses. That's actually, I think that's a detriment to the horses. I am not a horse expert,
right?
But that's pretty cool. I bet it was neat, and they didn't have to tell anyone to put their phones away at the table.
Right? Yeah. No one was taking pictures. No one was sharing to social media. Or anything like that.
Well, if someone wanted to take a picture, is the guy had to come in with one of those cameras where they have that like whole black hood that goes on, and then they have that big flash.
The flash.
So there's no way to
yeah,
exactly. There's no way to like snap a quick picture of your action, right?
Yeah. And then like
it's got to.
4 or 5 days later, they get that picture developed and they post it on social media, which is pretty much a pigeon, just sort of flying somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah.
It is really, really cool. And I do love, all jokes aside, I do love this history concept, because we lose a lot of that in Vegas. And the fact that the Golden Gate, that history is there. And who knows, we've talked about this numerous times before, the Strip, keeps reinventing itself and keeps knocking down properties. So who knows what's going to happen? Like, we haven't reached true phase 2 of that, where, you lost the dunes to another property, you lost the sands to another property. When you had all of that, you lost the Stardust to Resorts World, as we know. We haven't had the situation yet where somebody says, yeah, that Planet Hollywood, time to go. And if you think about it, what was Planet Hollywood? That was the original Aladdin, right?
Yep.
So you had the implosion of the original Aladdin. Then you got the new Aladdin, which became Planet Hollywood.
Yep.
So when do they decide that they're going to take down? Those are going to be some massive implosions. If they do, but we haven't reached that phase yet where someone's like, yeah, we're done with this place. Like, yeah, we got, there's nothing else we can do with it, as opposed to like, I guess what I call like the first generation implosions, right? Like Tropicana, there's a very good chance that we're going to lose Tropicana, but that's basically an old property. So sort of interesting thing. Actually, a really funny tidbit was I was listening again to episode 1, the old episodes of 500 by Midnight, which is 19 years old. And Tim was making predictions that year of properties that were going to go. And and back then, that 19 years ago, Tropicana was on the list. Tropicana seems to have been on the list quite a bit.
So I mean, it took 19 years, but his prediction may very well come true. Just to be, let's join that bandwagon, and then let's just form a list of properties that might be demolished within the next 19 years. Just in the spirit of that. So we know.
You know what though? That's actually a really hard. That's a really hard question in the next 19 years. Like obviously Tropicana is an easy one, but as far as that, what older properties are you going to guess would be demolished? I don't know, maybe Flamingo, but that's actually the newer version of Flamingo. It's a great question. How about Harris? Right? I mean,
that was the first one I was thinking, was maybe Harris, maybe the Link, because the Link was the Flamingo Capri at one point. It was this additional hotel, and then it became everything else it became since then.
Imperial Palace. That's right? The most famous.
Remember Imperial Palace? Wow. The dealertainers. Man, the $1 beers. Oh my goodness.
That's right.
Good
the
times.
Happy hour. It's very interesting to think about this next generation of the properties that you might lose. Like we know we're going to lose the Best Western and Casino Royale. I'm pretty sure that's on the way out. I know there have been rumors there, which makes a lot of sense, because that's sort of like great prime land. But I just wonder when we're going to see. Mirage is an interesting one, right? You lose some of Mirage. You lose a little bit of Mirage with losing the volcano and getting the new guitar tower, but they're keeping the original towers.
Yeah.
So that also might be a little bit of the difference too. These buildings that were built, in like from 1990 on, the infrastructure of those buildings is still probably worthwhile to really renovate. Whereas when you had some of these old properties, Tropicana is probably a good example. Yeah. It probably just isn't worthwhile to try to like clear out the guts of Tropicana and renovate it. You're better off just taking it down. But some of these properties that have, like Bellagio is a good example, right? It's, just the architecture, infrastructure, all the kind of stuff, like number of service elevators and number of rooms and all of that kind of stuff just lends it, I think, better to being, to being renovated. So we'll see. Interesting stuff, though.
I think it's when you think about how that new guitar tower is going to be built, that shining light show guitar tower, hotel tower, I should say, guitar hotel tower. And then you have it next to the Mirage. The Mirage is going to look kind of out of place next to it. So what I'm thinking that they should do is repaint the Mirage so it looks like a guitar amp and an effects pedal. And I think that if they can pull that off, everything will just make sense.
Oh my God, that's really, really cool. Yeah, I love that idea. That's great. It's a hell of a lot better than turning Luxor into a Dorito.
Dude, I had to see that so many times when I'm driving back from work. It's just like, why though? Like, what? Why?
Well, the commercial tie-in is, in some ways, it's absolutely brilliant. But I guess it depends what the commercial tie-in is, because I think on Mandalay Bay they have like some soda or something like that. And like, where do you draw the line? Like, what if like a tampon manufacturer wants to like have do you wind up with a building with a big tampon? I'm just like,
I imagine there is a
Doritos line. Good, tampons bad.
I mean, maybe they can just do something with like the Strat for that. I don't know what it would be, but I'm sure they could do some sort of temporary frame. I don't know. I'm not sure.
You're ready to move on. Yeah.
And now it's time for the tease.
So today we're just talking about, can a hotel be exclusive? And since we've spent a lot of time pondering about older hotels, we're just going to talk a little bit about, is it possible for something to actually be exclusive that has 2,000 or more rooms? Does size impact something being exclusive? And my my opinion and my data points for what makes a hotel exclusive, and this is totally made up by me, is that a hotel has to have fewer than 500 rooms or suites, has to have a dedicated entrance, separate dedicated check-in, separate dedicated pool, 24-hour room service, humans that answer the phone immediately. I really like that one. Coffee and tea delivery as a separate component from room service. Doesn't necessarily have to be like a butler, but you should be able to get like on-demand coffee and tea, and also a pressing service. So that's why when you think about it in Las Vegas, that's why a lot of hotels are hotels within a hotel. And and the thing that I started with was, does this matter? And I think this does matter because the most important thing to a guest is their arrival experience in a hotel. That sets the entire tone for a stay. No matter how you feel, if you have to wait in line to check in for an hour or 45 minutes or an hour and 15 minutes, that is not going to set a positive tone. And it's near impossible to have a hotel with more than a couple of hundred rooms that has a check-in area that will not get slammed sometimes and will have a very long wait to check in. And that it totally impacts your entire stay. I would say so much that little things that might bother you about the room that you get into probably don't bother you very much if it takes 5 minutes to check in. But if you've waited an hour to check in and then you get to your room and housekeeping hasn't done something perfectly to your room, you're going to be more annoyed. And part of this thing is you can tell actually that some of the hotel companies, because they love to be able to add on fees, have added things like selling VIP check-in, like MGM. MGM will let you use VIP check-in, which is the Noir check-in, for paying an extra charge to do that. And obviously they see the value that people want to not have to wait and want that exclusive experience. But I think it works much better when it's part of the room product. So when it's part of like Wynn Tower Suites, using Tower Suites lobby, Aria Sky Suites, using the Sky Suites lobby, Venetian and Palazzo Prestige, using the Prestige Lounge. In the non-casino world, like buying club level, like Ritz-Carlton Club, and being able to check in the club. So anyway, that's my thought. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty accurate about this, that no matter what, it's near impossible to have thousands of hotel rooms and be exclusive. Because if you have thousands of hotel rooms, in order for there to be a consistent and perfect level of check-in at front desk, calling down to front desk, even things like room service or other things, it's near impossible to do because you would never be able to have enough employees to be able to satisfy that, 24 hours a day with all types of demand, especially if you're a property with 3,000 rooms. So that's what I got for you today. What do you think, Michael?
I mean, yep, totally on point with that. I've as a visitor, when I would visit out here, I would always see like the upper class members of the loyalty club get that nice short line, or sometimes go into that special, sweet private check-in area and stuff like that. And I would just be, a little bit enraged with jealousy, just a tad. But this conversation is
A tad.
a tad. Not to be confused with Tad Steaks, which don't ever go to Tad Steaks in New York. But what this conversation reminds me of is when you had the idea of the perfect hotel. And I forget what episode it was, but I remember you wanted segregated parking. You wanted parking that a certain class would be a separate parking area from the lower class cars, or something like that. It had to be its own parking level just for the highest tier members, or something like that. And when you were talking about, what makes a hotel.
Did I say that? I don't remember that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. She absolutely did, man. Because I remember I was like, wait, hold on. Are you telling me that you need your car to not have to deal with lesser quality cars parked next to it? I remember it was a thing, but it reminded me of that. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You're going to get what you pay for, and the experience of that is also the same. If you're going to put in the extra bucks to get that private check-in, it's gonna bite out of your bottom line while you're on vacation, of course, but you also don't have to wait in line. You just get to walk right in. Someone sees you right away. Perhaps they give you a glass of champagne. They used to do this at Bellagio. There used to be a waiting. There used to be a VIP area for check-in.
Still is. Yeah.
It's still there. Okay, I didn't see it last time I went. Like that door is gone, and like it's been replaced by that shop now. That's kind of outside.
They have a different VIP check-in area, but
Okay,
they definitely
so they
do
just
still
moved
have
it. Okay, it's probably on somewhere near the VIP parking level. Anyway, I remember you'd go in and they would they would check you in and they would give you champagne while you waited, and all that stuff, and and it was they would be there ready with your luggage, and some dude brings it up. Like, it was a nice experience. It wasn't my experience, it was a friend of mine's experience, but I just happened to be there with him when all this happened. And so it's nicer to, like, arrive in Vegas. They sent a limo and everything. Like, it was nice. It was freaking nice. Anyway, so yeah, you got to get what you pay for.
Well,
in
but
Vegas.
the
Money goes
main
far.
problem is that Vegas is an anomaly in a lot of ways. Like, the largest hotels in, like, New York have like 1,500 rooms, 1,800 rooms, and there aren't a lot of them.
Right.
Vegas has many hotels that are north of 2,500 rooms. And it is really hard. Like, Venetian Palazzo is like 4,000 rooms per property. There's like a special dilemma for Vegas, because if you think about it, it's really tough. What's the word exclusive? Exclusive usually means that limited access, small, or the scale of it is small. And I think it's very hard to have a hotel with 4,000 hotel rooms trying to say it's exclusive. It's like against the term exclusive, So obviously you need to build like special facilities or facilities within to make it, exclusive. I don't think that's a thing. I mean, what do you think of the psychology of the psychology of people like being annoyed by their room or being annoyed by little things? You see, I am completely convinced that somebody who shows up, gets handed a glass of champagne, and checks in really quickly, albeit that tends to be at the nicer properties where people have nicer rooms. But setting that aside, I think those people are less likely, because they've had such a positive check-in experience, to be annoyed by, I don't know, a wandering microscopic hair in the bathroom or something like that, where you see, if you read TripAdvisor, or things that people complain about. Because I think, honestly, when people are annoyed at checking in, then they're looking for additional things to be annoyed at. And let's face it, even in like the best hotels like Wynn or any hotel, there's always some minor housekeeping failure that you could probably complain about if you wanted to. But if you're in a great mood and you've checked in, you probably aren't really looking for that. Anyway, I think that there's a huge factor there. I mean, I think people who are pissed off when they arrive tend to find more additional things to be pissed off about.
Indeed. Also, I just want to give a shout out to SD to Las Vegas on Twitter, who appreciated the steak knife story last week. So thanks, SD to Las Vegas. And also
yes.
to...
And by the way, that's one of the things I love about doing this show with you. Shout out to Movestro. One of the shout outs to you is that I thought that I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that the news story is the steak knife. But of course, it's interesting. Other people, it's a broad world of interesting things. But yes, a man on the loose with a steak knife is, you see, we keep coming back to it. So I thank you, Movestro, for enlightening me with things that I might not think would be of interest.
Even if only that one person found it interesting, I feel like I've done my job. I feel like I felt meaning in this entire podcast. If just one person appreciated the steak.
No, it's great. It's great. But it's perspective. And that is something that's really, really important. And sometimes we don't get enough of, especially in the Vegas world, is different perspectives. I tend to find that there are a lot of people talking about the same things or the same perspective. So I like that, change it up a little bit.
Agreed. And that's going to do it for this episode. Luxury travel booking, TravelZork Travel. Visit us at TravelZorkTravel.com to plan your next amazing vacation. And please join the conversation on social media. You can find us easily. All social platforms are at TravelZork. We'll see you next time.